I thought I was being humble. Turns out I was hiding. I wasn't shrinking because I lacked confidence. I was shrinking because I didn't want to make them uncomfortable. This week, we're naming the blind spots, the ones that kept us small, silent, or stuck, and what it looks like to finally crown the parts of ourselves we didn't even know we were dimming. Welcome back, softies. You made it back to another episode of INQ Essence, the space where we sip slow, speak truth, and pour into the parts of ourselves that the world tries to overlook. I'm your host, Dani, and today's pour, it's all about those parts of you that were always there, even if you didn't fully see them. We're talking blind spots, not flaws, not failures, just the things you didn't know you were keeping small, dimmed, or low key until one day you looked up and realized, oh, that's where I was hiding. So whether you're sipping something warm, iced, or real strong today, this one's for the softie who's ready to see herself clearly and finally wear the crown that was always hers. Let's get into it. So, before we deep dive, let's check the vibe. Are you feeling sweet today? Light, joyful, soft, catching joy in the little things? Strong, grounded, present, rooted in your nose and your yeses? Spicy, bold, magnetic in your glow, even if it's making people squint? Maybe you're steeping, still figuring some things out, not all the way brewed, but warming up. Or spilled, overwhelmed, stretched, but still showing up with your heart in your hands. Could be an empty cup kind of a day. Low energy, tender, in need of softness and space. Take a breath. Check in. As for my cup, I'm feeling steeping with a splash of strong. I'm sitting with some truths I didn't want to name at first, not because I was in denial, but because I didn't want to admit how much I'd outgrown the version of me that used to settle. I'm not rushing this brew. I'm letting it steep because this kind of self-awareness, it deserves heat. So whatever's in your cup today, I'm just glad you brought it here. So here's the truth. I didn't plan this episode. I was on TikTok one morning, minding my business, when I saw this girl ask ChatGPT, now that you can remember everything I've ever typed here, what are some of my top 5 blind spots? And I thought, wait, I can do that? So I just typed it in, just curious, just playing. But when the list came back, child, it read me gently, but it read me fully. And I wanted to share those blind spots with you. Not because they were shocking, but because they were so real, so tender, and so accurate. So, blind spot number 1. I didn't know I deserved to be poured into too. I was doing what I always do, showing up, pouring into others, supporting, creating, but I wasn't making space to be supported in return. I didn't even realize how little I was asking for. I just thought this is how it's supposed to be. All right. Blind spot number 2. I was waiting for perfect when progress was enough. Whether it was launching the podcast, publishing a journal, or sending out a post, I kept holding things back because they weren't ready. But the truth, they were powerful because they were honest, not because they were perfect. All right. Blind spot number 3. I dimmed my light so I wouldn't shine too bright. I've always had a strong presence, but somewhere along the way, I got good at toning it down. Not because I lacked confidence, but because I didn't want to make other people uncomfortable. So I got smaller, softer, quieter, and called it humble. But if I'm being honest, I was hiding. All right, blind spot number 4. I was juggling every vision without giving one the spotlight. Multi-passionate? Yeah, that's me. I realized I was scattering my energy across so many beautiful things that none of them were getting the full pour. Focus isn't the opposite of creativity. It's how creativity grows roots. All right, blind spot number 5. I didn't realize my voice was the brand. I kept thinking I need better branding, better graphics, better this, better that. But people weren't connecting to the packaging. They were connecting to the feeling, the words, the care. My voice wasn't just part of the brand, it is the brand. And just like that, this episode revealed itself. Not because I was looking for content, but because I was ready to be honest. These blind spots, they weren't weaknesses. They were places I had simply stopped looking. And now I'm seeing clearly with love, with grace, with softness. Let's talk about it. So here's the thing, softies. Blind spots aren't always deep, dark secrets. Sometimes they're soft patterns, little ways we betray ourselves in the name of being nice, humble, or responsible. In real talk, I didn't miss these blind spots because I was clueless. I missed them because they were comfortable, familiar, easy to justify. Pouring into others instead of myself, that was survival. That was normal. That was expected. Holding off on launching something until it was perfect, that was how I kept from being judged. Shrinking to make other people comfortable, that one stung because I knew I was doing it. But I kept telling myself it was just being thoughtful. Meanwhile, my light was dimmer, my presence was quieter, my joy was edited for the room. And let's not even get into the way I tried to juggle 10 visions at once, calling it ambition, when really I was afraid to bet big on one thing and watch it fail. And then there's the voice thing, the one that cut the deepest because I spent so much time trying to make things look right that I didn't realize the feeling I created was the real magic. It was never about perfect colors, perfect captions, perfect structure. It was all about how I show up, my voice, my care, my essence. So if you're listening to this and you feel seen, I want you to know you're not late, you're not behind, you're not broken. You're just waking up, seeing yourself fully, finally. And that's not scary. That's sacred because you can't heal what you pretend not to see. But once you do see it, baby, you can crown it. So yeah, these blind spots, they weren't here to shame me. They were here to show me who I was becoming, piece by piece, truth by truth. And once I stopped avoiding them, I started honoring them. So let me leave you with this. Your blind spots weren't flaws. They were just places you hadn't loved out loud yet. The parts of you that felt too much, too messy, and too unsure, they weren't broken. They were just waiting to be seen with softness. You don't have to shame the version of you who couldn't see it, but you do have to crown the version of you who can. All right, love. We've poured out a little. Now it's your turn. Because blind spots can feel hidden, but so can your brilliance. And maybe today's pour stirs something in you, a memory, a moment, or a mirror you didn't know you needed. This is your space to sit with that. Here's this week's Pages and Petals prompt. What truth about myself have I avoided? And what happens when I choose to name it with love instead of fear? And if you need a gentler option, what's something I've always known deep down, but am only just now ready to claim out loud? Take your time, let it spill, let it steep. And if something beautiful flows out, I'd love to see it. Tag us using hashtag Pages and Petals or hashtag INQ Essënce, because reflection is even more powerful when we do it in community. If you're still here with me, thank you for staying through the softness and the truth. I hope this episode gave you permission to name what you hadn't seen before, not with shame, but with love, because you're not broken and you were never behind. You are just protecting parts of yourself you're finally ready to honor. If this episode spoke to you, pass it on. Send it to a softie in your life who's still dimming her light without even realizing it. Tag us using hashtag INQ Essënce or hashtag First Pour Friday, and let's keep normalizing what it looks like to be bold, be soft, and be seen. And hey, if you've got a story about seeing yourself more clearly, I want to hear it. We're still welcoming guests to pour onto the mic. Head on over to dannycard.com/INQ Essënce to connect with me. Until next time, keep pouring with presence, keep seeing yourself fully, and keep showing up crowned. This is INQ Essënce, and I'll meet you here again soon.